here. This is the last part of the female reproductive system where we will be covering the vagina and the vulva. Let's get started with the vagina, which is on average about 7.5 to 9 centimeters. But because the vagina is highly distensible, its length and width are quite variable. And at the proximal end of the vagina, the cervix projects into the vaginal canal. Now, the vaginal fornix is going to be this shallow recess surrounding the cervical protrusion, and it does look similar in shape to the fornix of the brain, remember? Now, the vagina will lie parallel to the rectum, and the two are in close contact posteriorly. Now, anteriorly, the urethra will travel along the superior wall of the vagina as it travels from the urinary bladder to its opening into the vestibule, which is the space that's bordered by the external genitalia. So all of the external genitalia receives the name of vestibule, or also can be called the vulva. Now, the vagina has three major functions. It serves as this passageway to eliminate the menstrual fluids that's coming from the endometrium. It receives the penis during intercourse, and it holds the sperm before they pass into the uterus, right over there on the fornix. And in childbirth, it forms the lower portion of the birth canal through which the fetus will pass during delivery. Moving on to the walls of the vagina, they're going to be moistened by the secretions of the cervical glands and also by movement of water across a permeable epithelium. We're going to also find two bulbospongiosus muscles that pass on either side of the vaginal orifice, and their contractions will constrict the entrance. Now, these muscles, they cover the bulb of the vestibule, which is this mass of erectile tissue on each side of the vaginal entrance. So during development, the bulbs of the vestibule, they derive from the same embryonic tissue as the corpus spongiosum of the male. Therefore, the bulbs of the vestibule and the corpus spongiosum are said to be homologous because they are similar in structure and origin. Now, the vagina contains a very normal population of resident bacteria, and their growth is actually supported by the nutrients that is found in the cervical mucus. Now, the metabolic activity of these bacteria, it creates a very acidic environment, which will actually restrict the growth of many pathogenic organisms. And also, an acidic environment will inhibit sperm motility. And for this reason, the buffers contained in the seminal fluid are important for the successful fertilization of the egg, because the sperm needs to be mobile to be able to reach the uterine tube and be able to fertilize the egg. Moving on, we have the vulva, which can also be called the pudendum, which is the region that will be enclosing the female external genitalia. And it will be composed of the labia minora, the vestibule, the clitoris, the mons pubis, and the labia majora. The vagina will open into the vestibule, which is the central space that's bounded by the labia minora, and smooth, hairless skin will cover the labia minora. The urethra opens also into the vestibule, just anterior to the vaginal entrance. Now, anterior to the external urethral orifice, the clitoris will project into the vestibule. And notice how the clitoris looks just like a little penis. So internally, the clitoris will contain the erectile tissue that's homologous to the corpora cavernosa in males. So this does mean that the clitoris also engorges with blood during sexual arousal. And there's going to be a small erectile glands that will sit at the tip of the organ, just like in the penis. And there's also going to be an extension of the labia minora that will encircle the body of the clitoris, forming what we call the prepuce. So females also have a prepuce. Now, during arousal, There are going to be a pair of ducts that will discharge the secretions of the greater vestibular glands into the vestibule near the vaginal entrance. And these mucus glands, they resemble the bulbourethral glands of the male that actually serves to produce mucus to moisten the tip of the penis. Now, the anterior limit of the vulva is going to be what we call the mons pubis, which is made of adipose tissue beneath the skin, anterior to the pubic symphysis, and it will form this prominent bulge, as we can see from this image. Now, adipose tissue also accumulates within the labia majora, which are going to be homologous to the scrotum of the males. The labia majora will encircle and also partially conceal the labia minora and the vestibular structures. Now, the outer margins of the labia majora are going to be covered with the same coarse hair that covers the mons pubis, but the inner surfaces are going to be relatively hairless. We are also going to find sebaceous glands and scattered apocrine sweat glands that will secrete onto the inner surface of the labia majora, and this will help to moisten and lubricate them, which are important for intercourse.